I put modest on my child.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah. He babysits her. I'm dead serious. If we put on modest child, well, in the morning, like, we'll be running around doing stuff, and we're like, where's the baby? And then somebody will be like, Modest has her. Like, no, literally. She's sitting in there just. I'm pretty sure she understands Hebrew.
That's possible.
Yeah, I really
Think about it.
No, I know, and that's what we've always said. We're like, but we'll play because we listen to a lot of Hebrew music, and so we'll be playing it, and we've had to go and learn the words, what they mean, you know, all those different things. But she sits and I swear she totally knows what they are. So sometimes we'll say things to her in Hebrew, and I swear she understands it.
Maybe.
Right?
I mean, I believe it.
Yeah, it's crazy if you need to think about it.
Or she's just a baby in Israel, or whatever. She would know Hebrew.
She's fresh from heaven, maybe. That is quite literally, yeah. I think she understands it. Anyways, just throw all this in with you. You guys want behind the scenes what we're talking about. Welcome back to Mary More Than Martha. We were off last week, but we were getting this done, so we'll be up and ready for this week. I'm Heidi with Minimalist Homeschool Select from In His Season, and if you have not already gotten the spring edition of our free homeschool magazine, she wrote in it, which I'm super excited to share.
There's so many, like, there are some really good articles.
Okay, I know I say it every single time I get done with one of these magazines, and I'm like, you guys, you have to read this. Like,
No, but
bring in the magazine.
It's really awesome.
Yeah,
So,
I think it's really
and
good.
you can, I like that you can get it on Amazon Kindle and the Master.
Yeah, and Google Play.
Google Play.
Or just get the PDF off the website too.
Yeah.
You can get it. I mean, I try to make it as easy as possible to just get it, and it's free, so you can go get it and read it. But I think it's got some really great stuff. Just families really sharing their hearts and everything, and I think that's so cool.
Yeah, it was really, really cool. It was a really big blessing, like, for me to be able to read, and like, I know you worked really hard,
Really
non-stop, trying to get it. Look, it's a baby.
The baby found us. Please don't.
Don't unplug it.
Hi, baby. What's up?
Sorry, guys. It was like a real close call there for a second. I really thought that the crawling baby was gonna like topple everything over. And I hear my baby.
So, you guys, this is the keeping it real. The come, hang out at the house, sit down, the kids are running amok, moms are getting to chat a little bit. That's what we're doing here. And something that we've touched on in other Mary More Than Marthas a little bit, we've touched on it in... Shh, no. Okay, be quiet. She's like, well, that's no fun. We've touched on it in podcasts. We've touched on it in like our Saturday lives, but we want to talk about submission.
Yes. Female submission. Where do people go with it? Where do people get it wrong? What is our purpose in all of this? And what should our attitude be about it? Because I really think that one is key. Emma. Sorry, my baby is on the other side of this camera messing with a computer. She was watching the video. Emma.
But I think it's really important to talk about because I feel like the image we have of what submission is and what submission means, our kind of worldly perspective to that versus biblically what it is and what we're called to do is not really the same thing and is definitely a topic of discussion.
Well, I think because the word submit and submission has such a negative connotation.
Yeah.
People have really gone kind of crazy with it. There was definitely a period of time in history where those verses were taken completely out of context. And that's where you get the female subjugation and all of that. And that is not what submission is when we talk about wives submit to your husbands. I say this, I feel like I'm on repeat, but like submit to your husband.
Not to every man.
Not every man. not your boyfriend, which that's a whole other topic right there. First you're under the authority of your father, and then you're under the authority of your husband. But what that actually is protection for us.
Yeah, it's a positive thing.
So it's...
Which I didn't know.
Well, and so I was doing a little bit of research on...
I meant to grab my Bible and I said
the biblical word that is used for submission, and I can't really exactly remember what it was or even how to pronounce it, but if you go look it up, it's pretty cool. You can pull up just like a Greek linear and look for, type in submission word used in these verses. And it actually, yes, it means submit, to obey, to do those things, but it also is a term of kind of just being able to kind of rest under the protection and authority. And it's supposed to be a confident. And here's the thing, it takes someone very strong to be submissive to their spouse. And I'm not claiming that I'm super strong. Like, this is like an ongoing battle for me. I think I'm getting better as I get older. The longer I'm married, I find it much easier to just kind of default. I find a lot more joy in it.
Well, I think that's kind of a good starting point because I know we've touched about it in the podcast, but I would not consider you and I to be these like meek, gentle, quiet people.
No.
Naturally.
No.
Here in our sinful flesh. We are very much strong, independent, opinionated to a fault.
And then to top all of that off, those natural things, we were both raised to never depend on a man, be able to take care of yourself, go to school, get the degree, get the high-paying job, then maybe consider having kids and getting married. Neither one of us went down that road. We both went down different roads. Both of us ended up getting married young, having kids young. And what's funny is that we were the girls that were like, we had it all mapped out.
Oh, yeah.
There was always this
plan. Our university, our dorm.
Yeah, we knew what dorm we wanted to go to. Yeah. I always had this dream of I'm going to have this cute little apartment. I'm going to live in by myself and all of this stuff. And then, what's funny is...
Well, husband and 3 children.
Yeah, well, and even before that, though... Sorry, I feel like my hair stuck on my makeup. When I was 19...
My baby just licked your shoe.
That shoe's been walking with the chickens, kid.
She has a great immune system.
So when I was 19 and I moved out to Texas and I was supposed to get my own place, Travis was living with his parents, and when it came time for me to get an apartment and be on my own...
Did you like it?
No.
You hated it?
No, I didn't even get that far. I went and stayed with my aunt and uncle.
Did you really?
I did. And then, unfortunately for us, we then made the decision to move in together, which caused all sorts of different problems.
I think your baby locked him out of the house.
I'll be back.
Hold, please. The second youngest child just locked all of the big kids out of the house, and they are now pounding on the door because nobody can get in. Anyways, about that.
Okay, so side note, it's actually really cute. Trav thought that Emma had locked herself in and we were downstairs.
Podcasting.
So he was like having a mini heart attack trying to
save the baby.
Yeah. Save the babies.
Bless his little 14-year-old.
What a miss.
I was just telling about, kids do things. Yep. Okay, so you didn't even get your apartment.
No, and I moved. I stayed with my family for a couple of months, and then some stuff happened where Travis realized like he had moved out, joined the military, lived on his own. Moving back in with his parents was less desirable than he thought it would be. Mm-hmm. And nothing wrong with them. He has a great family. They're really awesome, but he just feeling like he was under somebody's authority, especially right out of the Marine Corps. there's
can
this
imagine
need to control your own life a little bit more than he was allowed to. So we ended up moving in together. That caused all sorts of issues. We should probably delve into that like on another video.
Yeah.
But I didn't handle it well. I mean, I was definitely that young wife that nagged all the time. I had to get my own way. I was constantly fighting, throwing down, just lots of goading him. And he's so great. He's like the super patient person. It takes a lot to make him mad. But let me tell you what, like, I would back this guy into a corner verbally where he would finally be like, this is done. So yeah, it was a hard lesson to learn, learning how to be a wife the correct way by being a wife in all the wrong ways.
And I feel like we both really did that because we both got married young. We both come from single parent households where we didn't have a great example of what a biblical godly marriage should be.
Yeah.
We had some here or there, what I mean? We had a couple things, but not, that wasn't the majority of what we had.
No, I mean, my mom did get remarried, when I was in 6th grade, but my parents were both in the military. So even though my dad is great. I have an awesome male figure in my life, but he was gone a lot. My mom was gone. My grandmother was in the house. And so it really was a household full of female empowerment, in quotation marks.
Well, and that's just society. That's what we're doing. So for us to,
and there were a lot of positive things that came from that mentality, the mindset of kids.
You know what I love is we set up a whole setup for all of the kids so that way everybody could be completely taken care of. We could take like 30 minutes to do this. They're in here playing with the cord for the tripod and light stand. Like, that's what they're doing.
At least she has clothes on this time.
Yeah, that's true. We're moving up.
Oh, now the other baby has to come over. So, but the mindset of how to get things done that need to get done, being able to really just kind of throw yourself in there. I think a lot of that comes from having a single mom for so long, women that kind of know how to get things done.
Well, but I think, and both of us could say that, married young, came from not really having a good picture of what this should look like anyways, and we both really did learn how to do this by way of doing it wrong for so long.
Yeah.
And I know, for me too, I was always very successful in everything that I did. I am a total control freak. This is my plan. This is how I put it together. You're going to do it how I want to do it. I will fight you and I will win.
Yeah, because my way is better. You're just wrong.
Yes, because everybody else is an idiot and I'm the only intelligent person who can do anything.
Yeah. And so that actually, one of the number one reasons I hear for behavior like that as a wife is, but my husband's not leading.
Yeah.
Or he doesn't know how, or he doesn't step up to the plate, so I have to.
He doesn't step up to the plate, but this is an area that I have been gifted with talent in.
Yes.
So therefore it should be my answer, my call, right?
I've
even heard people use, that's my spiritual gift. So
leading your husband? It's not. I'm
sorry. Not even a spiritual gift.
I'm sorry, but if you are out there claiming that is why you are leading your household and not stepping aside and letting your husband lead, that is not your calling, that is not your spiritual gift, that goes against God's word in every single way, shape, or form. I would like to just side note here, again, both raised by single moms. We're not talking to you single mothers right now.
Yeah.
We're talking specifically about
submission to your husband.
If you are the only adult in your household, you are called to lead your kids and to do that. And there is biblical evidence of that as well. But, some of the best advice that I've ever heard about the whole, but my husband is not saved or he's not leading correctly, he had no role model or whatever it is.
He's not doing enough.
He's not doing enough.
In your eyes.
The best thing I ever heard was, so what if he's wrong? Let him make the decision anyway, it may be by failing. That's how they learn. That is how
we
you learn
all
to lead.
learn.
If you are raising a son to learn how to lead spiritually, to learn how to be a biblical male, there's going to be trial and error. There's going to be failure. Unfortunately, in the society that we live in, there are not a lot of men that are being raised in the church appropriately.
There really isn't.
And even if you are raising them appropriately, it's still so stinking hard because you have to fight all of this outside influence and all of these poor examples of how to be an adult and how to do those things. So all of that trial and error that you would have gotten, they would have gotten, isn't there. So what happens? Well, they learn by doing. They throw them in. If your husband wants to go out and buy a car, and you're okay, we need a car, and he's making this decision over here, but you've done 30 hours of research, and you know this one over here is the best possible example, or best possible car you can buy for the money, and he disagrees with you, you still, thank you, honey, for getting us this car. That is amazing. That is awesome. You are so wonderful to provide this for our family. Even if he made a bad choice, here's the thing. God will bless that.
In your submission.
God will bless that. He will bless your marriage because you'll grow stronger to your spouse. He will bless your husband by giving him the confidence he needs to lead. He will bless you by taking that contention out of your marriage so that it's much more peaceful.
And that doesn't mean that, say your husband makes a horrible financial decision. Right?
Yeah.
And that sucks. And you have to live with that. Number one, do not love the things of this world, so do not be wrapped up in the things of this world because they don't matter. You are a foreigner here because you're a citizen of heaven. Number one. Number two being, sometimes that means you do have to live with the consequences of that decision.
But he will learn from those consequences.
He will learn from those, and you will grow stronger together as one unit when you give up that little thing that sits in you. No, you shouldn't have done that. I told you. Well, here we go. We can't make this payment because we've got this stupid payment from the car you had to have. Every little thing like that is Satan grabbing a foothold in your marriage, in your home, in your life, and just, growing in that.
I can tell you from experience that your husband does not become a strong spiritual leader. He does not become that man that he's supposed to be with you as a wife constantly emasculating him. Nope. I've done that. I did that. I bought the t-shirt that didn't fit. It was bad. Luckily, I feel like that was something that I kind of started learning really early on because here's the thing. I wouldn't say, it's not that I ever walked all over my husband. We didn't, although people did think that that's how it was. The reality is that in the beginning, he's just so easygoing that unless it really mattered to him,
and you're not.
I'm more easygoing than I was.
You were not.
No, but his personality has always been, if it's not really something important to him, he's pretty much inclined to want me to have my way.
Sure. So he's like, yeah, sure, go ahead.
So he would just be like, yeah, okay, whatever you want, kind of a thing. But here's the thing, when he would then put his foot down or whatever, most of the time I was like, oh, well, this must mean something.
You actually really care about this.
But there were always... It was awful.
Yeah.
There were always instances, though, where he would say, no, we shouldn't. It was usually financial. No, we shouldn't spend money on that or whatever. And I would pout, cry, yell, nag, complain.
All the things.
Tell him he doesn't love me. Like,
always
you don't pay attention to me. Reroute the conversation about something else that I was holding a grudge about because he dropped the ball over here about something. I was 20 when we got married. He was 23. He dropped the ball. So did I. That's just, so there's always ammunition, right?
That's life.
And then I realized one day, I don't like the person that I'm married to because he's so weak. And he wasn't.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know anything about my story, my husband was in the military.
Which you can read about in the current edition of our free magazine.
Very early on in our marriage, my husband went back into the military. It was the second go around. And so he was gone a lot. So it's not necessarily that he was he's never been a weak man. He's always been very masculine.
Deployed.
He was deployed, and it just became easier to just not fight with me over certain things. And but the thing is I found discontent because
And that's the next point.
I didn't realize, but what I wanted was the security and safety of not being held responsible for everything.
And I think we both went through this in a very similar fashion, where we thought the worldview that we believed of what submission was. We both thought that. We wanted nothing to do with it. I will take care of it myself. Yeah, like, are you kidding me? And I'm smarter than he is, so come on. Let's be for real. You know, that was the type of thing that we went about. Like, I know what's best. You know, we do the happy wife, happy life, and mom knows best, and, you know, all of these things. And so we both did that, and we both kind of had this, whatever the thing was that clicked, that God speaking to our heart finally made that piece go, what am I doing? And we said, fine. Give it to him. Let him do it. Let whatever. The moment we both did that in our marriages, we both had that like, oh, this is way better.
Yeah,
Why haven't I been doing this all along?
I remember very clearly. Like, it's still very clear in my mind. I had already been noticing, okay, I need to fix this.
You're feeling a conviction.
Yeah, I feel a conviction, but I have no tools.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
The reality of the situation is my husband was gone. I was basically raising our baby. I mean, he was involved, but I had to make the day-to-day decisions and keep the routine in the house and all of that stuff. And so I was like, well, what do I do? Because I really was left in charge of everything. And then he would come home and I would have to like hand the reins. It was really messed with my head a lot. But
well, you guys went through many deployments too, so you were constantly having to
I started small, but with big things. Mm-hmm. So in my brain, there was a line. And if it crosses this line, so if I'm spending more than $50, I'm going to ask my husband, hey, is it okay if I spend this? This is where our money's at. The big one for me, though, was when we were wanting to move, which you're the reason we moved out here. But I was, you know, we knew he was getting out. We knew he wouldn't be staying in the military. We didn't want to go home. We wanted to go somewhere the military didn't send us. So we had like 5 different places that we were looking at going. And my poor husband, he really does love me and want me to have whatever my heart wants. If he can provide it, he wants to give it. Mm-hmm. The only time he's ever really told me no is when we financially were not in a place to do it.
And you're like, but why? Why can't I spend the money we don't have?
I did. I grew up a little bit spoiled. But,
not a little bit, you guys.
But,
anybody who knows you is like,
I mean, I grew up shopping at Guess, Tommy Hilfiger, stuff like that. We didn't have, like, we weren't rolling in the dough, but I just
had a cell phone before anybody had a cell phone. Come on.
I was 12. But I just had the adults in my life were like, here, let's, you know.
Give you all the things.
That was like a whole other thing. And then I got married and my husband's like, you're shopping at Walmart.
And you were like, what?
I know, I'm like.
I'm not buying toilet paper.
But now I'm like, but I can just go to Walmart.
No, you're totally that now, yeah.
But anyway, he's like, well, where do you want to go? Like, the military's going to pay for us to move. Where do you want to go?
Send it wherever.
And I had this overwhelming, I really feel like God just took over in that moment because I was like, I refuse to make this choice.
Wow, yeah.
I did. I actually looked at him and I was like, I know that if I make the decision of what we do next, it's going to be a disaster. I just knew with everything inside of me, I was like, he needs to make this. And I don't know if it was, because he didn't know how to lead either because I never let him. Because again...
Well, we get mad at them for not being good at it, but yet we also won't let them do it.
Right. And the thing is if you marry someone who loves you, They want you to have everything you want. And so it's so easy. It's so easy to just get your way and get everything you want, because really to them, they're like, well, yeah, I want you to be
well,
happy.
And there's that husband thing that your husband, ideally, right? I'm not saying this one says that, but there's that thing in men that they want to provide, they want to protect, they want to make you happy, they want to do those things. If your husband really loves you, he's going to want to do, he may show it in a different way than you think it should be, but there's that guy thing there that's just God's natural wiring, for things.
They just want to give you everything. You want to, and sometimes they, in our case, my husband would get really frustrated because he knew I was accustomed to a certain life. And
again, the spoiled thing.
So when he would see I wanted something and he couldn't provide it, his default, and again, really young, I was like his first girlfriend, like he had never kissed anyone before, we found each other. So there's no experience there, but his default was, well, we just can't afford anything, I'm not going to do anything. But it wasn't because he didn't love me. He just was so frustrated, and he felt like anything short of what I was accustomed to would be a letdown. Yeah. Which I, quite frankly, was like, bring me home a Reese's. Yeah. Like, I don't care.
I'll be good.
I just want you to do things. Again, that's like a whole other thing. But yeah, so I think in that moment, though, with the moving, that was God's way of him learning how to make the choices too. Because the reality was, we could have gone anywhere, and I think God would have blessed that.
Of course, yeah.
Because we knew we were doing what he wanted us to do. My husband had recently, within that last year, kind of found God again.
Peek on the babies. I'm kind of scared to know what they're doing.
So he had, kind of been reawakened and discovered this love of the Word, and he had been diving into all of it. He was finally like learning how to lead spiritually, but he hadn't been actively like making decisions and choices, which by the way, if you make a lot of the decisions and your husband's cool with that, as long as he's in agreement, there's really no big problem. But for me, I needed to have him make the choices for a while. Yeah. Because I needed to relearn his mind. I needed to relearn what he was going to be okay with and not okay with. And for the most part, with any financial purchase, we check in with each other. With any big decision, we check in with each other. There is no, like, he doesn't just go do things and leave me out of it. We're truly a team. It's just that he has the final say because he has more insight than I do. I think sometimes God gives them a little bit more wisdom in certain situations, or even just gut feelings. Like, I don't think we're going to do that. That's a bad idea.
And it's funny because the majority of marriages, one of the biggest issues you always have comes to finances. Yeah. Finances suck. So especially, it's okay. Guys, it's okay. Yeah, she's got the thing of pups, and it's just like, I'm like, get the baby a couple. Ollie's just sitting there waiting for your baby to drop crumbs. Anyways, financial things are such a hot trigger point. Yeah. So especially when you get married young and you have no money, every little bit of money. And for me, I noticed again, you guys know, me and Brandon, we both grew up within the church. We both knew stuff, but not that we were living lives that we should have been. But I feel like for me, I spiritually started growing before Brandon and felt this like, this pull on this whole submission thing. And so I know, like, for us, we got to a point, and of course, so I'm Jerry.
Real life, guys.
I'm feeling more spiritual movement. Not that I was right and everything, because I wasn't. I'm feeling more spiritual movement. My husband is not. So I'm advancing spiritually. He is not. Finances, which is always a hot topic one, but I'm feeling this whole submission thing. Not that I was getting it perfect, but we literally, for a long while, we had one bank account with one bank card. We always have been a one-car family. We've never had our own independent vehicles or anything like that. We've always done things very much together, but he was the only one that had access to our money at all. And also funny because I've actually always made more money than him.
Yeah.
Which I love when people talk
and you're
about.
also the one that did the budgeting.
Did the budgeting, did everything. So when we were in this stage for a while where Brandon had all of our money, I couldn't even access our bank account. Not that he wouldn't let me or anything like that, but this is also before you get online and
it wasn't. Banking wasn't.
This is before all of that. So I guess I could have called in or something, but that's too many steps. So I did not access anything, and so literally he did. Yeah, it's okay. He did everything, and it was like any little thing that we needed, that I needed, was like a, hey, can I buy shampoo? Hey, can I buy, for every little thing, it had to be like, can I get this? Can I get this? Can I get that? And for me, it was a big lesson to learn because every time he told me, no, there's not enough money, I was like, okay. So the next day when I noticed a cup in the car, oh, so you look like you ate out for lunch today. So there's no money for me to get this that I wanted at the store.
Yeah.
But there's enough for you to eat out. Little things like
I
that.
have something more ridiculous to make you feel better. So when we first moved out here, it was the second apartment, the one where Al lived with us. We were budgeting everything. Travis was just starting out in this job, so we had no money. It was no money. Thankfully, we only had the one kid at the time.
Makes it a lot easier.
And we were really pinching pennies. We were having to borrow money from people. Excuse me. We were going to borrow money from family members. Just all this stuff was going on, and I would get mad on a regular basis. I would yell at him and complain because his boss, who was also one of his really good friends, would once a week take him out to eat. And I'm like, you get to go out to eat once a week, and I'm having to sit at home and freaking eat beans and rice and macaroni and cheese.
How dare you,
sir?
sir?
Even go get a soda. And you get to go do all these things. He's like, well, I'm not paying for it. But I would just eviscerate.
Irrelevant.
Yeah. But
that's not the point.
So yeah, at least you were trying to do the right thing.
Well, but that was such a big thing for us to get into that. And what's funny is he did that for a while, and then him naturally, you guys, anybody who watch anything, be like, I run the household. Mm-hmm. That is where my strengths are. I'm that type of person, and I do all the things. I thrive on that. Yeah. And Brandon hates it. He is not that person.
Is he like Travis? Travis he very much is like, listen, I will help you.
Don't hit the glass.
I will help you do whatever needs to be done, but you gotta make me a list.
Yeah.
I know it's so cliche, but my husband is perfectly content for me to run the house exactly how I want to. As long as everybody has their job and schedule.
Because Brandon doesn't want to deal with it. Yeah, because he doesn't want to deal with that stuff. He's like, if I have an issue with something, I will let you know. But we, switched over to then because stuff wasn't getting paid all the time. There was all kinds of issues. And I was like, oh, look at that. So then I started.
Sorry, I almost lost the camera.
So, anyways, then so eventually it came over to where I took it. And it's funny then because then our roles reversed to where he's like, hey, do we got a few bucks on the card? He could access our bank account. He doesn't want to. I think he has the app on his phone.
My husband does that too. He'll call me.
He's like, do we have money for this? Yeah. I'm like, you could do this yourself and find out.
My response, I'm always really careful to say, well, this is the amount we have in the bank account, but I'm not giving you permission.
But you know what? I feel in submission is something that we always need to assess. Yeah. So I think that one thing that if you feel a call to need to start with this, almost it's the same thing. I think it's a fun thing to do sometimes. I'll do it with myself to be a yes parent, where everything my kids ask me to do, I'll say yes to. So if I feel like we're not doing enough, right, and I'm constantly just consumed with other things, can we go to the park today? Of course we're not going to go to the park today. I have a million things to do, blah, blah. I have all these reasons, and I'll go, yes, we'll go to the park. Can I paint and do this where normally I'm like, no, because you make a mess, I got to pull out the stuff and do all the thing? Yes. So I'll go do this where I remind myself to help, and it's not for them, it's for me to realign myself. What am I focusing on? What am I doing? I will be a yes parent this week. But I think it's the same thing in starting. I kind of felt like I did this in starting with submission to Brandon. I feel like I reassess myself with this.
Yeah.
Before I do anything.
Yeah. I
check with him. I just point it in that view to kind of get into that habit. And so I've even noticed myself, like, we kind of naturally switched this way where I handled all the things, took care of all the things, and he's like, whatever.
I mean, I guess if you want to
Eat the sticker.
Eat the sticker if you want to.
She doesn't want it now. You ruined everything. But, you know, you get into this period of, you know, I kind of started taking over and doing all the things. And he's like, whatever, you handle it. I don't care about it. If I have an issue, I'll let you know. But then I feel like, especially with the business growing, we started making really good money, so we weren't having to worry about, there's just enough money for all the things. I just started doing whatever I wanted to do. Not purposely. I mean, it started off with good intentions of I'm trying to do this and trying to do that. And then I'd be like, honey, I'm going to go ahead and get this. And I usually will not spend money on myself. So he's like, any way that he can get me to do something new, he's like, will you please just do it? But I've noticed, especially as business has dried up and we're in ministry and it's life by faith and we're praying for every provision to, you know, pay the electric bill, you know, do all the things like that, that I feel, he did not say anything, but I feel convicted to be even more, honey, they have a plant I really want. Can I get this plant? Because you know me, the plant is my weakness. But I found in myself wanting to be even more, finances is just an easy one to go to, you know, but an easy one for me now that I feel more to go to him, hey, is this okay? Is this cool? Is this fine? And that's never anything that he initiated. He's always like, I trust your decision. You've got it. You're good. You know, but things like that, I think, is a big one. Finances is a big, easy one to really focus yourself
parenting
to.
The kids, too.
That's
another one that's like a big, huge bone of contention.
Sometimes you won't agree with
and
his decision.
Sometimes the hardest thing in the world to say is, well, what did your dad say?
And I think that's one is
so the easiest too.
It's something, because it's like, that's him. I don't. But that's also so important for our kids to see. The way you talk about your husband to your children is huge.
And the way they hear you talk to each other.
And the way they hear you talk to each other. And so making that, there are certain things, like there are certain categories in our home that are not my conversation whatsoever. When it comes to like video games or TV, things like that to watch, that's between your dad and you. That is up to him to decide if that's something that is okay for you to let into your eyes and your ears and, you know, into you that way. I'm just taking selfies. And so there are certain things that is so huge. She's like, yeah, look it, let him be. But that is so huge that, and sometimes when it comes to parenting decisions, I've seen this with homeschool families, where the husband feels like they lay around and do nothing all day long and get nothing done. He wants them to be up in the morning and be productive. And mom's like, well, I don't do that. We enjoy having more of a relaxed day. We get around to stuff in the afternoon, blah, blah, whatever. Submit to your husband.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't understand what he sees. Maybe you guys really are being kind of lazy and you're not setting up the best habits for your children.
Or I'll say, in our house, it's in full disclosure, I'm really bad at this one. This is like an ongoing, I think I've twice complied with his wishes on this one. My husband leaves ridiculously early.
He does leave really early.
He leaves at like 7 in the morning. His alarm goes off somewhere between 5 and 5:30 in the morning. He wants me getting up with him. And my response is almost always like, why? Why would I do that? And for the longest time...
Are you just trying to torture me now?
For the longest time, I was just like, no, because I stay up up later, or even if we go to bed at the same time, he's one of those people that 2 seconds and he's asleep, whether he's standing up or sitting asleep. Sitting down. Sorry. I don't know. Did someone just call me? What did you do? I think, look, go play. Where's Modest?
Modest is supposed to be babysitting you.
Where's Emma?
In there doing something.
Cool. But you know, it took me a really long time to realize, because I was like, what? You want to torture me just because you're tortured? What's wrong with you? Why would
you sit there while you brush your teeth?
And we have a very, first of all, my husband never has, and he never would be like, you're getting up with me.
Yeah.
He just would say, this is something I wish you would do, but it was never something that he demanded or made me feel like he made me feel like it was really my choice, but his preference was, so it's kind of a gray area. Technically, I can get away with not doing it because he didn't tell me to.
But what a kind service it would be to him if
I know. But I sometimes am not falling asleep till 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'm the one that gets up with the kids. So those are all of my reasons.
You're up that way.
Which that's happened as well. Where I'm awake and then he leaves and I go crash and then the kids come crawl in bed with me, but then I'm useless that day. I have a really big issue with sleep that really messes with me.
But again, that's something that your husband understands.
Yeah,
that is something with your depression and your sleeping and you have all of those issues. He understands, obviously.
So that's my long way around the barn way of saying, all he really wants, though, he's like, I just want to see you in the morning. I want those 30 minutes, to talk to you. And
because he is gone all day long.
Yeah, and it's nice. A couple of times, really, it's been like, and I feel so bad because I want to be able to do this for him. I'm just so exhausted. But, getting up and making him breakfast while he's taking a shower in the morning, or making sure, he's a problem where he actually has to alternate when he showers at night versus in the daytime, because if he gets too used to his routine, he will fall asleep in the shower for 2 hours.
He has an issue.
He's been, he'll be late to work, and it's, so his life is easier when I schedule it. But I just have such a hard time, submitting to that and being like, I should just do this for him. Our lives really would go a lot more smoothly if I would just get up with him in the morning and do all of these things, and I would have more time to do stuff. And so that's my struggle.
Oh, don't break the book.
That's my struggle right now. Hey, no. Yeah,
it's broken.
Give that to the baby.
But it is so crazy to think of those things, but all of us, number one, we need to go to Scripture and look at what Scripture says about your role as a wife, and you need to seriously assess yourself by those standards of what this means. We all can stop and look. I don't care if your husband is a cruddy person, if he sucks at life, if he's not where he should be spiritually, if he's a jerk, if he smells bad, whatever. What can you do today to serve your husband in a way that gives you nothing?
Yeah.
I get nothing out of this. In fact, I might hate it. But this would serve him. And what can we do in that?
Every day, and I think we've both done this in different times in our marriages, and I still do. Look, submission is an ongoing
you're constantly having to reassess.
Living in this world, you are constantly having to reassess. It's an image. It's a picture of Christ in the church. It's a picture of our relationship with God. When you are submitting to your husband, you're submitting to God. Yep. And so if you
you will be rewarded by God for it.
If you seriously dislike If you seriously dislike your husband, I would say remind yourself, okay, but I'm submitting to God.
Yep.
But I
wish that's what I would have been reminding myself when I was seriously not liking my husband.
But what I was going to say is what I think both of us have done in different times in our marriages and sometimes still do, is when you're feeling a little bit resentful and bitter, hey, we need to be, no, you need to be quiet now. Come over here and sit with me. Leave your shirt on. When you're feeling bitter and resentful about your lot in life. I know, especially for stay-at-home moms, homeschool moms, work-at-home moms, all of us, we tend to get really caught up in this idea of, but I take care of the kids and I do the school and I clean the house and I do all of the grocery shopping. And a lot of times you're doing the budget and going grocery shopping and you've got a list a million miles long. You can't possibly hit everything on it. Here's the thing, your husband probably has a similar situation. He's sitting there going, I gotta make all this money to provide for my family and pay all these bills and I wish I could hang out with my kids. And I still gotta build a relationship with my kids. And, you know, so it's, everybody goes through it. But we have so much feedback where it says, you deserve this. You are enough. You are whatever. Here's the thing, sometimes you're just not enough. Sometimes you're overwhelmed. Sometimes you are just like, look, I love my life, but there are times where I'm like, why do we have kids so young? I love my children.
Whose grand idea was it?
I love my children. I'm so blessed by my children. I learn from them every single day.
Don't play the pants, sweetie.
Maybe not every day, but every week at least, I'm learning from my children, even the youngest one. But some days, you know, you just get in this headspace where you're just like, ugh, my husband left all these dishes in the sink and he threw his clothes on the floor. And why can't he just throw this piece of trash away? And would it kill him to do this? It would take him 2 seconds to do that.
I think it took me 15 years of, no, okay, I'd say like 12 years of marriage to teach Brandon what a laundry basket is.
Yeah, mine is
in the bathroom, and the clothes are on the, like, how?
So Travis folds his clothes.
He folds them and he puts them off.
And I think part of that's from living in barracks.
Sure. Trying
to keep all of your, but he legit, like, I will go pull the laundry basket out to do laundry, and I'm like, fine, fold the clothes. But he will fold them and stack them right outside of our shower. And so for me, shout out to Fly Lady, clutter attracts clutter.
Yep, it sure does.
For me,
you should go see my countertop.
The way my brain works, once my house is clean, I have to keep everything clean, because if we go too long with even one little spot, everything gets broke. Yeah. And when I say it gets bad, guys, it gets bad. So when he leaves his clothes in front of the shower on this little wall, I'm like, he walks back to the closet, you guys. He gets out of the shower and walks back to the closet where our hamper is to get his clothes on.
Like, why?
It literally is a fraction of a second to grab the folded clothes.
But
he doesn't
point
do it.
being,
so the thing is like, you know, I've let go of it. But I'll like clean the bathroom and have everything neat. And I'll be like, don't leave your clothes there. And then I reminded myself that at some point during the day I'll be in the bathroom and leaving the bathroom and walking to the closet, and it really only takes a fraction of a second for me to do it. So I just put that on my list of things to do. No, but what was my point? Before I got into that story. My point is that it's, sometimes your brain is just in meltdown mode, and you just feel like, I can't do it. And you know what? God likes it when you get to that point. Yeah. Because when you get to that point, that's when you hit your knees and you cry out, hopefully, and you say, God, I can't right now. I can't do this. I just need you to help me figure out what I got to do. But at the same time, when you're bitter and upset, try doing those acts of service for your husband. Challenge yourself when you're in that rut, when you're just feeling so like, I don't like you right now, I want you to go over there. Challenge yourself. Say, what is one thing my husband wishes I would do that I don't really get anything out of? And do it. And if you do it every single day for like a week, you will fall back in love with your husband. Yes. He will appreciate it. The way he treats you will change. It might not be like this big aha moment for him, but your heart will change. By doing the things that God tells you to do, by trying to be of service, which, by the way, that's another definition of biblical submission, is just being of service and being assisting.
Yep. I've noticed I've had to in my own life multiple times. Every time before I go to do something, how can I serve my husband and my children today?
Mm-hmm.
So as I'm picking up his socks and he lives on the floor and I'm sticking, I love my husband and I'm serving my husband. It's little things like that, but you just do it consistently.
Whoa!
Oh! I said just like go play.
So my baby was dragging her baby, not by the arm, but by the arm of her clothing. I mean, luckily she was kind of crawling, so it wasn't
I didn't know
so
what she was saying, so I was like, go play. She's like, go find the baby, and she's like, here, found the baby. I'm bringing her to you. Anyways, okay, I guess to wrap all of this up.
I found you.
Okay.
You found me? Okay.
To wrap all of this up, the point being that we can all go to scripture and see what our role as a wife should look like. We can all today choose, how can I serve my husband and even your children? You know, but starting with in your home, starting with your marriage, with your husband, because we want to be serving Christ.
Yeah.
So how can I serve my husband today? You know something that your husband really likes that you can do right now. It could be something you're cooking for dinner. It could be the fact that you're even making dinner. It could be something you're wearing, something you're doing. Maybe your husband cannot stand when he comes home and there are just school supplies all over the table and it's like a whole deal. Maybe that's it. So maybe you know if he's going to be home at this time, 20 minutes prior to that, I'm going to clean the whole table, wipe it down, and put a candle on it or something nice. Like, there are little things that we all can challenge ourselves every single day. What is something I know my husband really likes that I am going to put some effort into doing?
So one that takes very little effort, but that I have found for me is a great perspective changer, is I will call my husband at work every day and say, what would you like for dinner today? I don't care, right?
Yeah, whatever.
And he really doesn't care either, but it lets him know that I really do want to do this for him. I don't cook dinner for my kids, I cook dinner for my husband. Because with my kids, I can throw a sandwich at them and they'll survive.
Well, and it's like, if you're not going to value his opinion, what's the point of him?
Let me clarify that. I do cook dinner and my kids eat what I cook. I don't mean that I don't actually make them food. I just mean that it's not for
but if
them,
I let my
it's
kids
for
pick,
him.
we'd eat pizza every night. Come
Exactly. With mine, it's tacos. I could eat tacos. I was going to say, we had tacos on the way here. That was lunch. Because they're easy. Look, there's a couple nights a week I really enjoy because my husband's at men's prayer or he's, out doing something and I'm like, sweet, I don't gotta cook for you tonight. We're whatever it is. And it's usually like a box of mac and cheese or, whatever it is. But even something as small and simple as that, if they've been irritated with you, that really helps change their perspective, but it helps you too because it makes them see that, like, I am considering you throughout the day. I think a lot of times the misconception that they get when we're at home is that we just don't care what they think.
Yeah.
Especially when, look, sometimes it's a struggle. There have been times, especially when I'm, like, in a depressive state, it's like everything I can do just to get through school with my kid. So I'm not doing dishes every day. I'm not, and it's bad. I know, I get it. There's nothing I can do about it. Sometimes I had to stop beating myself up over it and start realizing, like, you know what? Today's just not going to work out the way I wanted it to. And then I need to have a joyful spirit anyway. So instead of berating myself for the level of exhaustion I feel, it's just that, but I can always, say, hey, I'll call him and say, hey, what do you want for dinner? Maybe I'll gently coax and be like, is there somewhere you'd like to eat out? Like, do you want to pick up food?
Well, it's funny you say that because we have the direct opposite problem where I'm always doing too much and like superwomaning too many things and he's like, will you please for the love just sit down and relax? So I make it a point that when we have lunch, because we're together all the time, every single day. Like Brandon and I are not ever separate. We work together. We do everything together. And so when we sit down to have lunch, I make lunch or we've gotten lunch or whatever, I will make it a point to literally sit at the table, no computer, no phone, no project, no anything, and sit down and eat lunch. So when he has come up from his office and I have stopped to do this, we're literally stopping. And he sees me resting and relaxing, and I make it a point that I'm not the first one to leave the table.
Yeah.
So I will stay sitting at the table.
I'm really bad at that because I'm like,
me too. And he's constantly like, will you please just stop doing everything for 5 minutes? Like, that's the biggest one that I get from him. And so I have made it, I've never said anything to him, but I will sit there and I'm like, I am going to sit here. And I won't be the first. I may be sitting there folding my napkin into a million pieces, like doing something. But I make sure that he gets up. Yeah. And then I'm like, okay, I'm off, I'm gone. But I'll do that. So then before he goes back down to his office to get back to work, he saw me resting, enjoying, relaxing. He can go back to doing his work. I'll go back to my 9 billion projects. But that helped him to be like, cool, she sat down, she relaxed. And I do the same thing at dinner too, so that way, it's like that thing. But just there's just so many little things. I feel like we think submission is this huge thing where you're not allowed to have any opinions and do anything and blah, blah, whatever. And it's like, I think it's a lot of little things. They're big things, but it's just little.
And you know what I think? I mean, I feel like, because I have this conversation a lot, somehow I end up talking to a lot of people who, they're getting married young, they're having, and it just, we talk and they ask questions and they bring this up, but I feel like the common thing for them, the one place where I feel like it all starts, right, is they'll say, well, again, this goes back, he's not leading, he's not doing what he's supposed to do. What do I do?
I won't loosen his reins, but
what do I do? Yeah. And I can tell you, it's not, by telling him, if you would just, if you would just do this, if you would just initiate prayer with me, if you would just I just want you to do a devotional with me, if you would just do that, then I would be nicer to you.
If you would just read your Bible, if you would just do what this says, if you would just...
Or my favorite, and I did this, if you would just find a church for us to go to, and if you would just set the example and read the Bible, then I would do those things too, because I hit a level of bitterness where I was like, well, I'm just going to wait for him to step up to the plate, but it was not from... It was totally, I was really kind of throwing like a teenager's tantrum at the time. But it was awesome. It caused so many problems. It caused so many problems. But so take it from like a mostly reformed nagger. You don't get him to lead by constantly complaining to him about how he's not leading. By telling him what a bad job you think he's doing. The great advice I got from somebody else was, if you're really upset with your spouse, if you're just so mad at him, and maybe he did mess up, maybe it was big, or maybe you're just nagging because he, whatever, didn't like the sink down or whatever, don't take it to your husband. Go lock yourself in a closet and cry and pout and stomp your feet and complain to God, God, why did you give me a husband that does blah, 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 blah. God can take it.
And he'll do it with you.
But your husband might not be able to. Because, he'll survive. But their egos are so fragile. And it takes nothing. You are the most important woman in the world to him. You're the most important person on this planet to your husband. One negative word from you
does damage.
Does a ton of damage. It doesn't matter if you gave him a compliment a day for the next 2 weeks. There will still be a time. One of the prices that I had to pay for a long time, and I still sometimes do, but it's very rare, is that I would get into like discussions with my husband. Not quite arguments, but he would feel like I was attacking him or something, even though at the time I was actually very intentionally being very careful about my attitude and how I was approaching things, but he would automatically take it as an attack because that's what it was for so long.
Yeah.
And then he would start responding to me as if it was the me from like years prior. And I would be paying the price for an action I didn't do anymore. And then it became a whole other thing where I'm like, well, you've got to let this go.
Yeah.
Which is like, I'm like the queen of grudges. So it's, God's like,
Please,
well.
tell us how we should let it go, Lex.
Yeah, well, I've gotten better now, but before, man, I could tell you stories. But
Modest Yahoo is literally now babysitting both of our children.
I'm okay with that. Electronically, you guys, we're those parents right now.
No, I'm telling you, if we put on Modest Yahoo music, like any of the videos, I swear it's from going to concerts when I was pregnant with her, Olivia is just like, they're best friends. She'll hear his voice and like be out here. So I was kind of scared because it was so quiet, and I go out there and they're both just sitting there watching. Like,
that's funny.
Whatever. Anyway.
But yeah, so my point is make a point to say thank you, honey, for going to work today and making sure that, you know, we have food on the table. Thank you for, I don't know, something that a normal person would do anyway, but thank him for it anyway. Yeah. Thank you for being such a good husband. Thank you for being they need to hear that they're a good husband, you guys.
Well, just like positive parenting, and if you want to think about what type of a woman you are, go read Proverbs. Proverbs is a great one.
It is.
To go, I'm that one, aren't I? Great.
Yeah.
I was just compared to a leaking faucet. You know what I mean? Like, go look at that and seriously hold a mirror up and read Proverbs. And then you think of these things and you go through it and it's like, you know that when your kid is acting the most unloving of ways, that's because that child needs your love the most. That's when your kid needs cuddles. That's when your kid needs a special treat, a special thing, like just extra attention. They're doing that because they're a human being, just like your husband is. So maybe your husband is being a jerk. Maybe he's being a grouch. Maybe he's being stingy. Maybe he's being all of these horrible things that you don't want him to be and you don't expect him to be. Number one, your husband is not Jesus, so he's never going to be perfect because there's only one that can fill that perfect gap that is in you, and that is Christ. So don't ever expect your husband to be this perfect being that you've created in your head because no, you're just crazy at that point. I mean, that's not how this works.
Right.
But your husband, everybody's dealing with stuff. Everybody's lacking something. Everybody's struggling with something. Everybody has some issue. Your kid's going to town with the bells in there. Yeah. But everybody has something. Maybe you've tried a million ways and they've failed. How about you try going about this in a positive, gentle, kind, loving way?
And sometimes it means you leave the room for a minute to go wash your hands or whatever, where you're just like, I'm going to take a deep breath real quick.
Kill him.
Maybe you just need to, hold on, honey, I'll be right back. I just got to go check on this one thing.
Yeah.
Myself.
Yeah.
And you go walk out of the room for a minute, come back. I love you. Give him a hug. Tell him you love him. Tell him that he is your hero. Tell him that he's awesome. Tell him that you love that he goes and does a job that he hates.
And the more you're looking for positive things, the more the positive things will change within you, will change within him, change within your marriage, will change within your family, will change. I mean, it's just this, it goes on and on and on. It's like that commercial where, you know, the old lady drops her purse and so the teenager hands it back to her, and then somebody else sees the act of kindness, so they do something. You know what I mean? Like, it just grows and grows and grows, but you have to cut off all the things in this world that are talking against your husband, against your family being your focus, against all of that stuff. You've got to cut those things out. You've got to look at what Scripture is telling us because it's so clear. I mean, it just cuts you. It's so clear because we're all guilty. Yeah. You know, and then you've got to start just doing these things, and you will reap such rewards from it.
It really is.
You still think you'll be perfect, and you'll never have to readjust and reassess, but it makes such a difference.
And we've both said this, where it's like, I wouldn't want his role.
No.
Because maybe you don't realize that, biblically speaking, the Bible says that your husband is responsible for you too.
Yeah. he has to stand before God and answer for you and the children and everything.
Yeah.
Like, that's
So,
all on him.
Anything I can do to make his chances better. Not of salvation, but just like, you know.
When he gets up there and he's like in front of God, he's like, really?
Kind of like what Adam did. It's the woman you gave to
Do you see what I'm dealing with here? I feel like in a lot of instances, God's going to be like, there is that.
Maybe. But,
let's be for real.
But, you know, I don't want the level of responsibility that he has. To be completely honest, for as controlling as I am, as much as I like to have all of everything taken care of, I've really come to the point where I have so much less stress now.
Oh, yeah.
Because
like, why haven't I always done this?
I don't have to take responsibility for anything. So, like, well, okay, not for anything, but you know what I mean. So, like, with a financial decision, if I go buy something and it ends up, like, overdrawing the bank, and I didn't talk to my husband about it first, I then have to, like, be apologetic about it.
Yeah.
Because
you screwed up.
I screwed up. And I hate screwing up. I hate it when he's right.
Oh, because that's the worst.
Well,
when they say the things and you're like, no.
I hate it when he's right and I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if I say, hey, honey,
can I get this?
Can I get this?
He says yes.
Then I'm like, my conscience is clear. Or if, like, the kids are being particularly nutty and I just am done and don't want to deal with it anymore, I will call him at work and be like, hey, so this is what they did. You can deal with it when you get home. I don't do that all the time. And his job allows for those conversations. Sure. But, so I'll just be like, well, I called your dad. Then I didn't have to sit there and, like, get my blood pressure through the roof because they wouldn't listen. And often when the kids hear daddy knows about it, they're like, oh, no. And then the rest of the day, they're so good. And they're like, what am I, chopped liver?
Basically.
Like, come on, man. I
mean, you just birthed them.
Yeah, right. So, well, and then the other thing, too, is sometimes I will have a day where I just don't want to make decisions at all.
Yeah.
Not often. A lot of times it's the other way around. My husband wants me to have everything planned out. But some days I'm just like, okay, well, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
And even if I, in the back of my head, was hoping he would say, let's clean the kitchen together. If he says, let's go do this, let's go take the kids to the park. Right? But sometimes he'll want to take the kids to the park. And I'm like, I shouldn't have asked.
Why did I
but at the same time,
optimism.
The same time, even though mentally I'm like going begrudgingly, I'm still relieved that I didn't have to sit there and stress myself out over the million things that I felt like I had to do.
Somebody else may.
So, and I feel like there are so many other directions we can go with this topic, but as far as
probably going to be a multi. I mean,
I think as far as an overall view of submission, I think it's a good introductory video.
Yeah.
I kind of would like to do one. You guys let us know what you think, but I kind of like to do one specifically dealing with just more in detail how to submit during arguments, how to like more practical information. I mean, we touched on it here, but I don't know, maybe I don't even remember most of what we just said. So I don't know if we touched on it enough. Maybe we could do another one where we go a little bit deeper. What do I do if my husband's not saved? What do I do if he's not doing what he's supposed to do? That kind of a thing. I mean, again, we touched on it all briefly, but I think we've kind of been around with these marriages. We both have had lots of different experiences, but I think between the two of us, we've dealt with most of the ups and downs and highs and lows, and you know, aside from some like really, really terrible things, we've gone through kind of all of it between the two of us. So maybe we can get a little bit more specific. So when dealing with submission, do you guys have anything specific that you want to talk about? Is there a conversation you'd like to hear? I mean, like, we'll be the first to admit I struggle with this. I'm a lot better than I used to be. Most of the time, I feel like I get this one right, but I do. You know, you get in those little.
And we do want to have this conversation with our husbands.
Yeah, I would love for them to talk about what should a husband be,
and what do they think of us as wives as far as this.
Yeah.
Like maybe we think we're great.
I don't know if I want to ask my husband on camera.
Shut up, hiding.
No, but he would, honestly though, he'll probably just be like, you're wonderful. Because that's just, my husband's awesome. Even if I wasn't, he'd probably believe it
he's
too.
Gracious.
He doesn't hold grudges. He just is like, hey, you're awesome. Like, I can't even talk bad about myself when we're fighting. He'll be like, don't say that. But, but I do think that's an important conversation, but I would like to point out just kind of one thing I don't think we really hit on the head in this one video is this is not contingent on him being, I mean, you kind of mentioned a little bit, but like whether or not he's abusing his power as a husband or not utilizing his authority or not scripturally leading, you being obedient to God's word is not contingent on your husband being obedient to God's word. And I think that's a trap we both fell into. And listen, it's not worth it, you guys. It feels good for like a hot minute, but the price you pay for it, even after you've had that heart change, even after you've started to crawl out of that hole, you will deal with the ramifications for years. You just do, and it's not even always like just a really negative, it's not like you're fighting it out all the time, but there will be things that are issues because of how you behave. So, pray about it. If you need a heart check, I just would really encourage you to go to the Lord and say, God, please, I don't know how to change me, but change me, because what's going on is not working. And don't underestimate the power of praying for your husband either.
Even if it takes years.
Sometimes God leaves certain things the way that they are because then you won't worship your spouse. Right? So sometimes he just won't let them fix that one thing. But a lot of times he will fix it or change your perception of it. And there's always hope. There's always hope. I mean, I've been in a place in my marriage where, I wasn't going to walk away and get a divorce, but like, I genuinely was like, I was so stupid. And now I'm stuck for the rest of my life. And it wasn't even like my husband's fault, really. Like, he's got his own issues and things, but really, like, there was just a well of bitterness inside of me for so many reasons. And I didn't hate him, but I didn't really like him very much either. And I don't think he liked me. Like, we weren't very likable towards each other. But God pulled us out of that and he healed that. And our marriage is stronger than it's ever been. I've watched your marriage do something very similar. It's so cool to stand back and watch that. So just know, like, if anything, if the only thing that we can do with this one video is provide hope,
I promise it's there.
It's there, because I was like,
might not be instant, but it's there.
It's there. So God will heal that, and he can heal, maybe you've done something really terrible that you think your husband's just going to hate you forever, but God can heal that too. He can heal that perception too. So I would just, again, lock yourself in the closet, cry out to God, complain to God, be angry about your situation in front of God, anything to keep it away from your husband. To me, that's like the first and most important step towards moving forward and learning what to do. And find one thing you can do for your husband today that is just for him, that benefits him, not at all. And remember, again, if you're in that place where you don't like your husband right now,
then really go do that one
thing. And if you have to, just go, okay, but ultimately this is obedience to God.
Because my husband stinks.
And on that note, we can end the video with those words.
Dinner smells so good, and I'm starving to go eat.
Let's go eat.
We will be on at noon on Saturday, noon Eastern time, for our YouTube Live. Lex is always on there in the comments. We're totally going to have to make her come up on Saturday, so she'll be here for the live too. But come hang out with us and do that. New Mary More Than Martha every Saturday. The magazine, everything is linked down. Lex's blog, Instagram, all that stuff is down there so you can connect with us. And we'll see you guys next time. If anybody wants to listen anymore. They're like, nope.